A millionaire finds a girl in an alley and is horrified to discover that she has been abandoned with a baby in her arms. The torrential rain lashed the dimly lit streets of New York on that fateful night, the city's bustling energy muted by the relentless downpour. Nicholas Ashford, a millionaire businessman renowned for his philanthropy, decided to walk home after a charity event at the elegant Plaza Hotel. The icy drops soaked through his tailored Italian suit, but he barely noticed, his mind preoccupied with the evening's discussions on addressing child poverty in the city. As he navigated the slick sidewalks, Nicholas couldn't help but reflect on his own tumultuous childhood. Born into a low-income family in the Bronx, he had experienced firsthand the struggles of growing up in an underprivileged neighborhood. His father, a factory worker, had worked tirelessly to provide for the family, while his mother took on odd jobs to make ends meet. Despite their efforts, there were times when food was scarce, and the threat of eviction loomed over their heads. Nicholas vividly remembered the shame he felt as a child, wearing hand-me-down clothes and relying on free school lunches. The other kids would tease him mercilessly, calling him rags and mocking his worn-out shoes. He had learned to keep his head down and focus on his studies, knowing that education was his only ticket out of poverty. Through sheer determination and hard work, Nicholas had managed to secure a scholarship to a prestigious university, where he excelled in his business studies. He had vowed to himself that he would never let another child endure the hardships he had faced. And as his wealth grew, so did his commitment to philanthropy. Lost in thought, Nicholas almost missed the small movement in a narrow alleyway as he turned onto a particularly poorly illuminated street. Squinting through the downpour, he realized it was a young girl, huddled against the brick wall, clutching a bundle close to her chest. Despite the rain plastering her dark hair to her face, he could see the exhaustion and desperation etched into her delicate features. Cautiously, Nicholas approached the girl, who couldn't have been more than 12 years old. "Hey there," he called out softly, trying not to startle her. "Are you all right? What are you doing out here in this weather?" The girl's eyes widened with fear as she pressed herself further into the wall, her arms tightening around the bundle. As Nicholas drew closer, he realized that she was holding a baby, wrapped in a thin, drenched blanket. The infant's tiny face scrunched up, letting out a weak cry that pierced through the sound of the falling rain. "It's okay," Nicholas reassured, holding up his hands in a non-threatening gesture. "I'm not going to hurt you, I just want to help." He crouched down to the girl's level, ignoring the puddle seeping into his expensive leather shoes. The girl eyed him warily, her gaze darting between his face and the empty street behind him, as if calculating her chances of escape. "What's your name?" Nicholas asked gently, trying to establish a connection. After a long moment, the girl replied in a voice barely above a whisper, "Mia." "Mia, I'm Nicholas. I know you have no reason to trust me, but I can see that you and your baby are in trouble. Please let me help you get somewhere safe and warm." Mia hesitated, the conflicting emotions evident on her face. She glanced down at the baby, who had started to shiver violently, and something in her expression broke. With a small nod, she accepted Nicholas's outstretched hand, allowing him to guide her out of the alleyway and into the unknown. As they walked through the rain-soaked streets, Nicholas couldn't help but notice the threadbare state of Mia's clothing. Her thin jacket was no match for the biting cold, and her shoes were worn down to the soles. The baby, too, was inadequately dressed for the harsh weather, the blanket providing little protection against the elements. Nicholas felt a surge of protectiveness wash over him as he led Mia and the baby to his car, which was parked a few blocks away. He couldn't fathom how someone so young could be left to fend for herself and an infant on the unforgiving streets of New York. The thought of the hardships they must have endured made his heart ache. As they reached his car, a sleek black Mercedes, Nicholas opened the rear door and helped Mia inside, ensuring that she and the baby were comfortably seated. He turned up the heat, watching as Mia's tense shoulders slowly relaxed in the warmth of the vehicle. During the drive to his penthouse apartment, Nicholas attempted to engage Mia in conversation, hoping to learn more about her situation. However, the girl remained mostly silent, only offering brief, hesitant responses to his gentle inquiries. It was clear that trust would not come easily, given the life she had led thus far. Upon arriving at his building, Nicholas guided Mia and the baby into the elevator, his mind already racing with the necessary steps to ensure their well-being. He knew that he would need to provide them with proper clothing, food, and medical attention, as well as a safe place to stay while he figured out a more permanent solution. As they stepped into his spacious penthouse, Mia's eyes widened in awe, taking in the expansive living room with its floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the glittering city skyline. The plush furnishings and modern decor were a stark contrast to the harsh realities she had known on the streets. Nicholas led Mia to the guest bedroom, where he quickly prepared the bed with fresh linens and a warm comforter. He showed her the attached bathroom, stocked with fluffy towels and an array of toiletries, encouraging her to take a hot shower and change into the clean clothes he provided. While Mia tended to herself and the baby, Nicholas busied himself in the kitchen preparing a simple but nourishing meal of chicken soup and grilled cheese sandwiches. As the comforting aroma filled the apartment, he couldn't help but reflect on the unexpected turn his evening had taken. When Mia emerged from the guest room dressed in the soft, clean clothes and cradling the baby, who was now wrapped in a warm blanket, Nicholas felt a lump form in his throat. The sight of them, safe and cared for, stirred something deep within him, a longing to protect and nurture that he had never experienced before. As they sat down to eat, Nicholas watched Mia carefully feed the baby, her movements gentle and loving despite her own apparent hunger. The bond between the two was evident, and Nicholas marveled at the strength and resilience of this young girl who had taken on the role of a mother in the most challenging of circumstances. Over the course of the meal, Mia began to open up, sharing snippets of her story. She revealed that her mother, a drug addict, had abandoned them months ago, leaving Mia to care for her infant sister Lily on her own. With no other family to turn to and no means of support, Mia had been forced to navigate the unforgiving streets, scavenging for food and shelter while trying to keep Lily safe. As Nicholas listened to Mia's heartbreaking tale, he felt a deep sense of connection to her struggles, remembering his own difficult childhood. He knew that he could not simply stand by and watch these two young lives be consumed by the cycle of poverty and neglect. At that moment, as the rain continued to beat against the windows and the city lights twinkled in the distance, Nicholas made a silent vow to himself and to Mia and Lily. He would do everything in his power to provide them with the love, stability, and opportunities they so desperately needed. This chance encounter had brought them into his life for a reason, and he was determined to be the catalyst for change in their world. Little did Nicholas know, as he tucked Mia and Lily into bed that night, promising them a brighter tomorrow, that this was just the beginning of a journey that would test his strength, challenge his beliefs, and ultimately redefine the meaning of family for all of them. The road ahead would be filled with obstacles and sacrifices, but in that moment, all that mattered was the glimmer of hope he saw in Mia's eyes, a hope for a future that had once seemed impossible. As the sun peeked through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Nicholas Ashford's penthouse, he found himself awake, his mind still processing the unexpected events of the previous night. The soft sounds of the city stirring below seemed a world away from the life-altering decision he had made just hours ago. Nicholas made his way to the guest room, quietly opening the door to check on Mia and Lily. The sight that greeted him tugged at his heartstrings. Mia lay curled around her baby sister, her arm draped protectively over the infant's tiny form. Even in sleep, the weight of their hardships was evident in the furrow of Mia's brow and the way she held Lily close, as if afraid she might disappear. As he watched the gentle rise and fall of their chests, Nicholas felt a surge of determination. He knew that the road ahead would be challenging, filled with legal battles and emotional upheavals, but he was resolute in his decision to provide these two innocent lives with the love and stability they deserved. Quietly closing the door, Nicholas made his way to the kitchen, his mind already racing with the tasks that lay ahead. He knew that he needed to contact his lawyer to begin the process of securing temporary custody of Mia and Lily. There would be background checks, home visits, and a myriad of paperwork to navigate, but he was prepared to face it all. As he brewed a pot of coffee, Nicholas couldn't help but reflect on his own childhood. Growing up in the Bronx, he had witnessed firsthand the devastating impact of poverty and neglect on young lives. He remembered the hopelessness that had once threatened to consume him, the feeling that he was trapped in a cycle from which there was no escape. But Nicholas had been lucky. A chance encounter with a teacher who recognized his potential had set him on a path to success. She had encouraged him to apply for scholarships, to dream beyond the confines of his circumstances. Without her guidance and support, he knew that he might have become just another statistic, another child lost to the unforgiving streets. Now, as he looked back on his journey, Nicholas realized that he had the power to be that same guiding light for Mia and Lily. He could offer them the opportunities that had been denied to so many, the chance to break free from the cycle of poverty and build a better future. Lost in thought, Nicholas almost didn't hear the soft footsteps padding into the kitchen. He turned to see Mia standing in the doorway, Lily cradled in her arms. The wariness in her eyes from the previous night had given way to a tentative curiosity, mixed with a glimmer of hope. "Good morning, Mia," Nicholas greeted her warmly, offering a gentle smile. "I hope you both slept well. I'm making breakfast. Would you like some pancakes?" Mia hesitated for a moment before nodding, a small smile tugging at the corners of her lips. As Nicholas busied himself with preparing the batter, Mia settled Lily into the high chair he had ordered online in the early hours of the morning. Over the course of breakfast, Nicholas and Mia began to navigate the tentative beginnings of their new relationship. Nicholas asked gentle questions about her likes and dislikes, her dreams for the future, while Mia slowly opened up, sharing small pieces of her story. As the morning progressed, Nicholas couldn't help but notice the way Mia's shoulders gradually relaxed, the guarded look in her eyes softening as she allowed herself to enjoy the simple pleasures of a warm meal and a safe space. It was a small victory, but one that filled Nicholas with a sense of purpose. However, the road ahead was fraught with challenges. As Nicholas began to make the necessary arrangements for Mia and Lily's care, he found himself confronted with the harsh realities of the foster care system. The bureaucracy seemed endless, the requirements daunting, and there were times when he felt overwhelmed by the magnitude of the task he had undertaken. But every time he looked into Mia's eyes, every time he held Lily's tiny hand, Nicholas knew that he couldn't give up. These two precious lives had been entrusted to him, and he was determined to fight for their future, no matter the cost. As the days turned into weeks, Nicholas and Mia began to settle into a new routine. He enrolled her in a nearby school, ensuring that she had access to the best education possible. Mia thrived in the nurturing environment, her natural intelligence and curiosity blossoming as she was given the tools to succeed. Despite the progress they had made, Nicholas knew that Mia's wounds ran deep. There were nights when he would find her sitting in the dark, silent tears streaming down her face as she grappled with the trauma of her past. In those moments, Nicholas would simply sit beside her, offering a comforting presence and a listening ear. Slowly but surely, the walls that Mia had built around her heart began to crumble. She started to trust Nicholas, to see him as the father figure she had always longed for. Together they began to build a new family, one forged in the fires of adversity and strengthened by the power of love. As Nicholas watched Mia and Lily thrive under his care, he knew that his life had been irrevocably changed. He had once believed that success was measured in wealth and power, but now he understood that true fulfillment lay in the simple joys of family and the knowledge that he had made a difference in the lives of those he loved. But even as they celebrated the small victories and cherished the moments of happiness, Nicholas knew that their journey was far from over. The specter of Mia and Lily's past still loomed large, and there were forces at work that threatened to tear their fragile new family apart. As he looked to the future, Nicholas steeled himself for the battles to come. He knew that he would need to summon every ounce of strength and determination to protect the precious lives that had been entrusted to his care. But with Mia and Lily by his side, he knew that he could face anything. And so, as the sun set over the city that had brought them together, Nicholas and Mia stood hand in hand, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. They had found each other in the darkest of moments, and together, they would build a future filled with hope, love, and the unshakable bond of family. As the weeks turned into months, Nicholas and Mia found themselves settling into a new normal. The once pristine penthouse with its sleek modern decor and minimalist aesthetic now bore the telltale signs of a home well lived in. Lily's playpen occupied a corner of the living room, her toys strewn across the plush carpet, while Mia's backpack and school projects found their place on the kitchen table, a testament to her growing confidence in her academic abilities. But even as they carved out a life together, Nicholas couldn't shake the feeling that their newfound happiness was built on a fragile foundation. The legal battles for custody of Mia and Lily loomed large, a constant reminder of the precarious nature of their situation. Late one evening, as Nicholas pored over the latest stack of legal documents, he heard a soft knock at his study door. Looking up, he saw Mia standing in the doorway, her face etched with worry. "Nicholas, can I talk to you?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Of course, Mia," he replied, setting aside the papers and gesturing for her to come in. "What's on your mind?" Mia hesitated for a moment, twisting her hands in her lap as she gathered her thoughts. "I heard you talking to your lawyer on the phone earlier," she began, her eyes fixed on the floor. "Is everything okay? Are they going to take us away from you?" Nicholas felt his heart clench at the fear in Mia's voice. He knew that the legal proceedings were taking a toll on her, the constant uncertainty weighing heavily on her young shoulders. "Oh, Mia," he said softly, moving to sit beside her on the couch. "I promise you, I will do everything in my power to make sure that you and Lily stay with me. You're a part of my family now, and I won't let anyone take that away from us." Mia looked up at him then, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "But what if they don't let you keep us?" she whispered, her voice breaking. "What if they send us back to the streets or to a foster home where they don't care about us?" Nicholas reached out and pulled Mia into a tight embrace, feeling her small frame shake with silent sobs. "That won't happen," he assured her, his voice firm with conviction. "I won't let it. You and Lily are my priority now, and I will fight for you with everything I have." As he held Mia close, Nicholas couldn't help but marvel at the depth of his love for these two precious girls. In the short time they had been a part of his life, they had managed to fill a void he hadn't even known existed, bringing a sense of purpose and fulfillment that he had never experienced before. Over the next few weeks, Nicholas threw himself into the legal battle with renewed determination. He hired the best lawyers, pored over every document, and attended every court hearing, all the while making sure that Mia and Lily felt secure and loved. But even as he fought for their future, Nicholas knew that the true battle lay in healing the wounds of their past. Mia, for all her strength and resilience, still struggled with the trauma of her early years. There were nights when Nicholas would find her huddled in the corner of her room, lost in the grip of a flashback, her eyes haunted by memories of hunger, fear, and abandonment. In those moments, Nicholas would sit with her, holding her hand and speaking softly until the terror subsided. He taught her breathing exercises and visualization techniques, tools to help her cope with the overwhelming emotions that threatened to consume her. Slowly but surely, Mia began to open up to him, sharing stories of her past that broke his heart and tested his resolve. She spoke of the nights spent huddled in doorways, the constant gnawing of hunger in her belly, and the fear of being discovered by the authorities and separated from Lily. Through it all, Nicholas listened without judgment, offering comfort and support in equal measure. He knew that healing was a long and difficult process, but he was determined to be there for Mia every step of the way. As the months passed, Nicholas began to see a change in Mia. She smiled more often, her laughter ringing out through the penthouse like a joyous melody. She excelled in her studies, her quick mind and insatiable curiosity earning her the praise of her teachers and the admiration of her classmates. But perhaps the most significant change was in the way she interacted with Lily. Where once there had been a desperate, almost fearful protectiveness, there was now a gentle nurturing, a love that was no longer born of necessity, but of pure affection. Nicholas watched in awe as Mia blossomed before his eyes, her inner strength and beauty shining through with each passing day. He knew that she still had a long road ahead of her, but he had no doubt that she would overcome every obstacle in her path. And so, as the legal battles raged on, and the challenges of their new life together continued to mount, Nicholas and Mia clung to each other, drawing strength from the unbreakable bond they had forged in the crucible of adversity. Together, they knew that they could weather any storm, face any challenge, and emerge stronger and more united than ever before. For in each other, they had found the family they had always longed for, and the love that would sustain them through all the trials and triumphs to come. As the sun rose over the bustling streets of New York, casting a golden glow across the city's iconic skyline, Nicholas Ashford found himself awake, his mind already racing with the day's impending challenges. Today marked a crucial turning point in the legal battle for custody of Mia and Lily, a court hearing that would determine the course of their future together. Nicholas made his way to the kitchen, his steps heavy with the weight of responsibility. As he brewed a pot of coffee, he couldn't help but reflect on the incredible journey that had brought him to this moment. In the months since that fateful rainy night, his life had been transformed in ways he had never imagined possible. Mia and Lily had become the center of his world, the beating heart of a family he had never known he needed. Through the sleepless nights and the endless legal battles, through the tears and the laughter, they had forged an unbreakable bond, a love that transcended blood and circumstance. As he sipped his coffee, Nicholas heard the soft patter of footsteps approaching. He looked up to see Mia, her face etched with worry, her eyes shadowed by the weight of the impending court hearing. "Morning, Nicholas," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Today's the big day, huh?" Nicholas set down his mug and crossed the room to wrap Mia in a tight embrace. "It is," he said, his voice steady with conviction. "But no matter what happens today, I want you to know that I will never stop fighting for you and Lily. You are my family, and nothing will ever change that." Mia clung to him, her small frame shaking with silent sobs. "I'm scared," she admitted, her voice muffled against his chest. "I don't want to lose you, to lose this life we've built together." Nicholas pulled back, cupping Mia's face in his hands. "You won't," he promised, his eyes locked on hers. "I will do everything in my power to make sure that you and Lily stay with me. And even if the worst happens, even if they try to take you away, I will never give up on you. I will fight for you until my last breath." Mia nodded, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "I know you will," she said, her voice filled with a quiet strength that belied her years. "You've already given us so much, more than I ever thought possible. No matter what happens today, I will always be grateful for everything you've done for us." As they made their way to the courthouse, Nicholas couldn't shake the feeling of dread that settled in the pit of his stomach. He knew that the odds were stacked against them, that the legal system was not always kind to those who sought to forge families outside the bounds of blood and biology. But as he looked at Mia, her head held high, her steps filled with a quiet determination, he knew that he would never regret the choices that had brought them to this moment. For in opening his heart to these two precious girls, he had discovered a love more profound than anything he had ever known. The courthouse was a cacophony of noise and activity, the halls filled with lawyers, litigants, and the endless shuffle of paperwork. As Nicholas and Mia made their way to the courtroom, they were met by their legal team, a group of seasoned attorneys who had taken on their case with a passion and dedication that left Nicholas in awe. Inside the courtroom, the air was thick with tension, the weight of the impending decision hanging heavy in the air. As the judge took her seat, Nicholas felt Mia's hand slip into his, her fingers trembling with a mixture of fear and hope. The hearing was a blur of legal jargon and emotional testimony, each side presenting their case with a fervor and intensity that left Nicholas's head spinning. He watched as Mia took the stand, her voice steady and clear as she recounted the horrors of her past and the love and stability she had found with Nicholas. As the hours ticked by, Nicholas felt his hope begin to waver, the weight of the system bearing down on them with a crushing force. But just when he thought all was lost, just when he thought he had reached the end of his strength, the judge's gavel fell with a resounding crack. In the matter of the custody of Mia and Lily, the judge began, her voice ringing out through the courtroom. It is the decision of this court that sole legal and physical custody be granted to Nicholas Ashford, effective immediately. For a moment, the world seemed to stand still, the words hanging in the air like a dream too good to be true. And then, as the reality of the decision sank in, Nicholas felt a wave of emotion crash over him, a joy and relief so profound that it left him breathless. Beside him, Mia let out a sob, her small frame shaking with the force of her happiness. Nicholas pulled her into his arms, holding her tight as the tears flowed freely down both their faces. "We did it," he whispered, his voice choked with emotion. "We won, Mia. You and Lily are staying with me forever." Mia looked up at him, her eyes shining with a love and gratitude that took his breath away. "Thank you," she said, her voice filled with a quiet reverence. "Thank you for fighting for us, for loving us, for giving us a family." As they made their way out of the courthouse, hand in hand, Nicholas knew that their journey was far from over. There would be challenges and obstacles ahead, moments of doubt and fear and uncertainty. But as he looked at Mia, her face filled with a joy and peace that he had never seen before, he knew that they would face those challenges together, united by a love that had been forged in the fires of adversity and tempered by the strength of their bond. And so, with hearts full of hope and eyes fixed on the future, Nicholas and Mia stepped out into the sunlight, ready to embrace the new life that lay ahead. A life filled with love, laughter, and the unbreakable ties of family. In the days following the momentous court decision, Nicholas and Mia found themselves settling into a new rhythm, a sense of permanence and stability that had once seemed like an impossible dream. With the legal battle behind them, they could finally focus on building the life they had always longed for, a life filled with love, laughter, and the simple joys of family. For Mia, the change was both exhilarating and overwhelming. After years of uncertainty and fear, of never knowing where her next meal would come from, or where she and Lily would lay their heads at night, the promise of a forever home was almost too much to comprehend. There were moments when she would find herself staring at Nicholas, her eyes wide with wonder and disbelief, as if waiting for the illusion to shatter and the cold, hard reality of the streets to come crashing back in. But every time Nicholas would meet her gaze with a smile, his eyes filled with a love and reassurance that never wavered. "It's real, Mia," he would say, his voice soft and steady. "This is your home now, and nothing will ever change that." Slowly but surely, Mia began to let herself believe, to embrace the love and security that Nicholas offered so freely. She threw herself into her studies, determined to make the most of the opportunities that had been denied to her for so long. She joined the school choir, discovering a passion for music that filled her heart with joy and her days with purpose. But perhaps the most profound change was in her relationship with Lily. No longer burdened by the constant fear and responsibility of keeping her sister alive, Mia was free to simply be a child again, to revel in the simple pleasures of playtime and imagination. Nicholas watched in awe as the two girls blossomed before his eyes, their laughter ringing out through the penthouse like the sweetest of melodies. He marveled at the resilience of the human spirit, at the way love and stability could heal even the deepest of wounds. But even as they settled into their new life, Nicholas knew that the scars of the past could never be fully erased. There were nights when he would wake to the sound of Mia's screams, her small frame thrashing in the throes of a nightmare. He would rush to her side, holding her close and whispering words of comfort until the terror subsided and she drifted back to sleep in his arms. On those nights, Nicholas would lie awake, his heart aching with the knowledge of all that Mia had endured. He wished that he could take away her pain, that he could erase the memories of hunger and fear and loneliness that haunted her dreams. But he knew that healing was a journey, a path that Mia would have to walk in her own time and in her own way. All he could do was be there for her, to offer his love and support, and to create a safe haven where she could find peace and solace. As the weeks turned into months, Nicholas and Mia found themselves settling into a new kind of normalcy, a life filled with the ordinary joys and challenges of family. There were soccer games and school plays, bedtime stories and Saturday morning pancakes. There were arguments and reconciliations, laughter and tears, all the messy, beautiful chaos of life lived fully and without fear. And through it all, Nicholas and Mia grew closer, their bond deepening with each passing day. Mia began to open up to him in ways she never had before, sharing her hopes and dreams, her fears and insecurities. Nicholas listened with an open heart, offering guidance and encouragement, and marveling at the strength and wisdom of this remarkable young girl. For Nicholas, the journey of fatherhood was both exhilarating and humbling. He had never imagined that he could love another person so deeply, so fiercely,